Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mental Health, Spirituality, and Metaphysics Talk with Mike Ray. I'm your host, as always, with Metaphysical Sciences TV, Mike Ray. Welcome back, everybody, and thanks to everyone who's just joining us, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, or on our new app, the Metaphysical Sciences TV app, which will be up and running within the next few months, or whether you're listening to replay from the podcast. Thank you for joining me. Remember, just a little reminder of the outline for the class. First, we will be having a lecture portion of the podcast, and then we will be opening things up to discussion to answer questions during the interactive portion of the podcast, which makes this, part podcast, part class, podclass. So if you guys do have any questions, if you're with me in the virtual classroom, please feel free to write them down, in the group chat, or, just send them to me privately if you want to remain anonymous, and I'll do my best to try to address them. So without further ado, let's start jumping into this. So last week, or actually a couple weeks ago, because it's been a little while since we've actually had one of these, we started talking about the topics of applied mysticism and the metaphysical sciences. Now, what do we mean when we say applied mysticism and metaphysical sciences? What we mean is how we could take the knowledge of the metaphysical and of this mystic and esoteric wisdom that comes from ancient texts, it comes from meditation, it comes through all these different sources of divination, or reaching out to the divine, or the metaphysical and spiritual side of reality, and taking that knowledge and being able to apply it to be able to actually demonstrate a better life, and in some cases even influence change in our external environment. But the main goal is to create change in our internal environment, which is where the change in the external environment begins. Now, one of the things that we talked about was mental transmutation, which this is a topic we've spoken about, on most of the podclasses on Metaphysical Sciences TV. And last episode, I did refer to a couple books. I just want to bring it out again, if I didn't last time, to show this book. This is the Collectanea Hermetica. Excuse me. It does come in 10 volumes. This book has all 10 volumes, unabridged, by W. Wynne Westcott. If you guys aren't familiar with his work, he is a philosopher and occultist, and he has written a great deal throughout the 18th century on the topic of applied mysticism and ceremonial magic. This book, Collectanea Hermetica, it contains the Hermetic texts, which are Greek, mythological, or rather, Greek mystic teachings. So Hermeticism is very much intertwined in the early Gnostic traditions. So in the early Christian church, a lot of the Gnostic scriptures were Hermetic texts, and there were a lot of the texts that are in this book that were originally canonical to the Bible. In fact, there are a few books in here, one of which is called The Holy Sermon, and a book called The Divine Pymander, which is part of a bigger book called the Corpus Hermeticum, or the Body of Hermetica. And in this sermon, it is almost identical to Jesus Christ's Sermon on the Mount, in the sense that it is teaching the same principles and it is saying it in a manner in which it can be interpreted in a variety of ways on a variety of different levels of reality, whether you're looking at it in a literal sense, a metaphorical sense, or an allegorical sense, or even a multi-dimensional facet. One of the other great things about this book is it has the whole corpus hermeticum. So you have the Divine Pynander, you have the all the books of Hermes Trismegistus, or Thoth, writing to his son, writing to Asclepius, which sometimes the Asclepius is just a book that you could find by itself, standalone. So it's a great, really great book to have, just if you want to have all these things in one place. And then of course it also contains part of the Dead Sea Scrolls, as well as books on Egyptian magic from Egyptian papyrus, which unless you're, very well versed in Egyptian mythology, it's not really that worth getting into, because it really is just, whatever the historians could translate from what was left of the papyrus that they were translating it from. So there isn't really much left to see, unless you can really, fit in the missing words and, hieroglyphs yourself, which I invite anyone to do. And if you do, please, reach out to me, because I'd love to hear some interpretations of that, because I don't think very many people have really reviewed this or looked into it deep enough to really have that many interpretations of these texts, which are very, very little known. Also, there's the Chaldean oracles of Zoroaster. So this, going all the way back to Zoroastrianism, which is the oldest known recorded religion in history, created by the philosopher and prophet Zoroaster. And then, of course, there is the Kabbalistic numbers, going about the monad, dyad, triad, the tetrad, all the way to the decad. Of course, these are all Kabbalistic principles that if somebody wants to look into numerology or gematria, which is the, I believe, the Hebrew numerology, then it is very much something you would be interested in, as well as the Kabbalistic book of formation, or book of creation, Sefer Yetzirah, which is also known as the Book of Abraham, which was recorded purportedly by the biblical patriarch Abraham, and it describes all of the the wonders of the astrological and numerological and sacred geometrical, all the different celestial alignments and precisions and moments, and a lot of forms of divination. There's a lot of knowledge to be learned in it, and it is a very small book. It's a very quick read, and yet it has kept Kabbalistic scholars and scholars, just period, busy for hundreds, if not thousands, of years now, since its original inception. And then it even goes into something that is included in some versions of the Sefer Yetzirah, which is called the 50 Gates of Intelligence and 32 Paths of Wisdom, which anyone who's familiar with the Kabbalah will understand what this is about, which is referencing the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, which I'm going to try to pull up a picture of right here. Okay, here we go. Let me share a picture of this with you guys. Okay, so there's the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, so you guys could all see that. And what it is trying to reach out, or rather trying to express to us, is this archetypal wisdom, which comes from the source of creation, which is, even in Kabbalah, is very elusive and very, in the tradition itself, unknowable. It's something that cannot be fully and completely grasped. So when it comes to, as I referenced before, the 50 gates of wisdom, 50 gates of intelligence and 32 paths of wisdom, these are correspondent to these sphera, as they're called, these different points on the tree of life, and the pathways between them. And then, of course, we know now that the tree of life was never meant to be just a two-dimensional figure. I'm trying to find a picture of it right now. We have the tree of life as it is represented in 3D, and we've shown this in the Inner Secrets Revealed Kabbalah class with Dr. Gil Tavan, which I highly recommend, and especially if this is resonating with any of you guys. There are so many different pathways and gateways to, just within ourselves. There's a tree of life within ourselves, which I will try to find a picture for again, because of course we have a picture of everything. So we have the tree of life within us, and then of course we have the tree of life that is the greater part of everything, as you will see here. So at the bottom of the tree of life picture, it is our body's will, as the graphic here represents and demonstrates, and then above that you have the human collective will. Above that is the will of the universe, and then above the will of the universe, meaning beyond time and space, all encompassing, eternal, celestial, is you have the divine will. And the divine will that are represented by the top 3 sphere on the tree of life, which represent the crown, understanding, and wisdom. And when you unify the 3 together, something amazing happens, and you get balance. And this is what the middle pillar in the tree of life represents. Now, of course, a lot of you might be asking, okay, well, this is all great, but how does somebody actually start to apply this knowledge to their life? And what might that actually look like? Well, there's a great place to start, and this is actually reading some of these books that have these exercises, as well as, if you guys want to go back and watch some of the previous episodes of this podcast or others, and I will do just a quick little technique at the end of this one. The best way is to just dive in and just start practicing, and with caution. And you want to be careful about the books that you're reading. You want to, you really want to research the author, and you really want to research whether or not the translation, if it is translated into, your language from another, you really want to check out the accuracy of the book. You really want to know if it's on point and if the information you're getting is genuine and, pure, or if it's tainted with, or if it's been falsified or in any way intentionally put out to try to mislead or manipulate people for any reason. And of course, there are many of these books out there claiming to be able to give people mystical powers and use all types of knowledge of, the infinite wisdom of the universe and God to create miracles and, recreate the stories from the Bible. While that isn't outside of the realm of possibility, what is more practical is the field of applied mysticism and metaphysical sciences, where you are working on transmuting and changing the inner self. You want to, what we call mental transmutation. We're trying to create the great work. We're trying to create the find a philosopher's stone and create gold out of lead. Now, anyone who is a follower of esoteric teachings and knows what keywords are will follow what I just said, which basically means lead is another metaphor. It's a keyword which signifies something that is at a basic state. It's at its unawakened state. So it would represent the uninitiated, those who are asleep by today's standards. So people who are not yet awakened. And then finding the philosopher's stone would be opening your heart, opening your mind, opening the pineal gland, the third eye, so that then you can actually start to see and feel and experience this other side of reality, and then create gold out of lead. So you're changing yourself essentially from the likeness of lead, which is a base metal, into gold, which is a precious metal, something that is of great value. Now, when you think of this, you have to ask yourself, when you think of gold or something of great value, what is of great value to you? And I would invite you right now to try this technique, to try to associate the color gold. And just close your eyes and visualize the color gold right now. And I want you to associate it with parts of yourself that you find most valuable and precious about yourself. And as you do this, and you just take time to breathe in and out, try to actually feel that you're breathing in this golden light that is surrounding you. And within this golden light is the power of the philosopher's stone, which has the power to transmute the lead within you into gold. It can change what is simple into something complex, something unattractive into something beautiful. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Well, if it's your eye that is looking, what do you want to see when you look in the mirror? When you think of gold or silver, if you prefer that precious metal, or platinum, what do you associate with it? Do you associate with a golden trophy for winning a sporting event? Do you associate it with a wedding ring, perhaps? Do you associate it with clothing or jewelry, accessories? Do you associate it with maybe having a heart of gold? Or if you're more spiritual, maybe having a golden aura, or having a lot of the qualities of gold within you. And by that I mean the qualities of the sun. Your personality is very warm, you're very loving, caring, giving. If you had these qualities within you, then you are already in that transition of turning lead into gold. And this is what the ancient philosophers called the mental alchemy. And this is what the true secret of alchemy was. Yes, it is possible to actually change lead into gold physically. Now they can do it. It costs a lot of money and it takes a lot of energy to actually, I believe they on the subatomic particle level, they knock off one of the electrons or something in the lead particle, which turns it into gold. And what you get, as a result from this process, as far as yielding gold out of lead, it's something like a 10-to-1 ratio of lead to gold. So while that might be something that maybe might be perfected in the future, or maybe there were other methods to do it in the past, that is just the physical material and just a very animalistic approach of alchemy, which, yes, of course, alchemy is also the mixing of chemicals and pharmakia, or which is a precursor to pharmacology, which is what psychiatry and modern medicine uses today, and it still uses the same standards as Paracelsus, who is quoted as saying that the dose makes the poison. Of course, we all know we could overdose on water, so, and we know that our bodies are uh, like 70 or more percent water, and then our bodies also contain precious and heavy metals like lead, gold, platinum, silver. So while all of this is literal and metaphorical, the two aren't mutually exclusive and they don't cancel each other out. So one of the greatest ways to actually start applying this knowledge to your life, and just let me grab a book. Here's a book I would recommend, a great place to start, which is the Kabbalion, Hermetic Philosophy, written by three initiates, who we now know was actually William Walker Atkinson, writing under a pen name. And it is the study of the Hermetic philosophy of ancient Greece and Egypt. So, and of course, we have that triangle evocation on the front with the gold lettering. This is the Centennial edition. This is a book from, I believe, early 1900s. It was once thought to be a lot older because of the language that was used in it, but it was made intentionally to give that effect, and to great success, because a lot of people did believe that the older a book is, the more authentic the knowledge would be for some reason. Whereas if you are able to really look at things from multiple perspectives instead of just one perspective for a long time, you might be able to come to the same conclusion a lot faster than if you were to just stay on a one-track thought of mine, try to get there only walking one path. There are many lanes on a highway for a reason, and, there's a fast lane, there's a slow lane, there's a turning lane, and then, there's a crossing lane. You have overpasses, you have underpasses, you have turnoffs. There are a lot of twists and turns. Nothing is really that black and white in life. Or perhaps you are one of the people where it is very much just a straight and narrow path, and that is something that is easy for you to do. That doesn't mean that everybody is going to do that, and it also doesn't mean that that is not the correct way. It also doesn't mean it's not the wrong way. What I'm saying is that something can be a personal truth and something can be an objective truth or a universal truth, and the two don't have to contradict each other, because all of our personal truths together create our universal truth. or our collective truth. And again, I'd like to show this representation of what that looks like on the Kabbalistic tree of life. So again, if you guys are really interested in starting to take the divine will, that the crown, to take the crown and to reach that understanding and wisdom of the divine will, and the will of the universe, and receive that into you. Well, if you are ready to do that, I suggest that you guys just get started. And, I wish you all the best of luck. And the best advice that I could give to anybody is think more than you read. If you have any questions as you start reading these books, immediately start writing them down. Almost certainly you should have a journal. You guys should probably want to keep a few journals, a few notebooks, and you're going to want to keep a lot of post-it notes, because as you start reading these books, you'll see that every couple of lines, it's very dense information, and it's a lot of information packed in there. So you guys are going to want to take your own notes, and if you're not the type of person who likes to write all over the books, which I am one of those people, but if not, you're going to want a lot of post-it notes or maybe index cards if your handwriting is a little bit bigger, just to be able to keep track of where you are in these books. Because I know when I first began reading them, I would read maybe half a page and have like 60,000 different questions, and then have them all answered by the time I read the next page, because of just how mind-blowing it is and how eye-opening some of this information is. And it really gives you a broader perspective of everything when you realize how everything is connected, and how precious and just genuinely beautiful, and how how just precious all life is in general. Sorry, just killed a spider. All life is precious in general. It really is a beautiful thing, except for spiders. So what you want to do is you don't want to use your notebooks as fly swatters. You want to buy fly swatters. And you also are going to want to buy a bunch of journals. And trust me, once you start getting into this, your dreams are going to start getting weird. Your thoughts, you're going to start noticing that you're thinking about yourself thinking, or that you catch yourself having thoughts, and you wonder to yourself, is this me? Am I thinking this? Or am I observing the thoughts? Or am I both? Am I schizophrenic? Am I going crazy? Do I have multiple personalities? Or could it be, yes, all of the above, that we as human beings are not just one thing, that we are an amalgam, we are a entire complex ecosystem within ourselves of multiple living organisms and intelligences that, when combined together, create the human being. And within this human vessel is a divine consciousness, or soul, which is entangled into this body with through our spirit. Now, the spirit is something that everyone is familiar with, but the soul is something more that is less understood. And a lot of people think the two are interchangeable. Spirit is more hinting at like the universal consciousness, the collective divine will of all. And then the soul is just that fraction of that universal consciousness that is our individuality, the part of us that thinks we are the only thing in existence. And that's separate from the ego, which is part of our body and actually is generated by the brain, which causes an illusion where we or a veil to be pulled over our spiritual eyes to where we can't truly be able to communicate with our soul. We have that disconnect between our heart and our mind, and there's no real reason to say whether or not this is a good thing or a bad thing, or whether or not this was something that was done to us or something that we were born with, or if it was natural, or if God caused it, or the devil, or what. It's not really the point to question. The point is to work with it and move forward. And that is what the field of applied mysticism and metaphysical sciences is all about. So, of course, you guys could start with some of the books that I've listed if you guys really want to start diving into this. And also, please feel free to reach out to me if you guys want to do any one-on-one sessions. I'm more than happy to teach whatever I have to offer, and see if you resonate with what I have to say, and and then we could take it from there. Otherwise, I invite you to look at the rest of the videos on Metaphysical Sciences TV on the YouTube channel, and you guys will find a bunch of great information on there. A lot of episodes of Inner Secrets Revealed Kabbalah class with Dr. Gill, where Dr. Gil Tavan goes over the Kabbalistic tree of life and the different sphera, the different parts of the tree of life, and of course their attributes. He talks about the Hebrew alphabet and Hebrew language, and of course how all of these different things can be applied to our life and how they correlate to our everyday lives. And the last thing I just want to say before we close off, because unfortunately we could not get anybody else in the virtual classroom tonight, so we're gonna end a little bit early. Just a quick final thought, which we will touch more upon next week, is whether or not somebody needs to have a narrative in order for them to complete a task. Now, what do I mean by that? There is something in psychology called narrative therapy, where you can use essentially a analogy or a metaphor for something that is meant to represent something else without having to actually talk about the painful experience. So if somebody's going through a traumatic experience, instead of them actually just confronting and using the experience, they put it into a story form, and then you take that narrative and you shift the perspective of the narrative in that story. And it's easier to do that if you are looking at yourself projected into just a character in a story, because then you're examining it as just a character in a story and it's not yourself. And yet then when you're done, you take a step back and you read it and you realize, well, wow, the writing says more about the author than it says about what the writing is actually about. So that is why it is a great idea to keep journals. And once you guys start, applying some of these techniques, you guys will probably notice a number of different things, happening in your life. A lot of things syncing together, a lot of synchronicities, a lot of random manifestations. A lot of people might have peaks and lows, highs and lows in their energy levels, where you might, not, you might be able to go out, you might lose the ability to speak. No, you might be able to go 2 or 3 days without sleeping and not need very much rest at all. And then some days you might just be completely burnt out and wiped out, and you just got to recharge your batteries for the next month. And, and really within that time, you'll be, just constantly thirsting and, being hungry for more knowledge and more wisdom. And the more you get, the more satisfied you are, and at the same time, the more you want, because you start seeing like, wow, there's an infinite amount of this stuff that just it's so exciting and fascinating that you can't get enough of it, and you can never get too much of it, because there's an infinite amount of it, and there's enough to go around for everybody. So with that said, I will leave it off there, and I thank you all for watching this. For anyone who was in the virtual classroom in the beginning, I'm sorry if I didn't get to your questions. We will do that when me and Dr. Giltavon start doing the question and answer videos, which we will start be releasing on Wednesdays, weekly, every Wednesday, where we answer all the questions that we don't get to answer during our pod classes. So thank you again, everybody. And this has been Mental Health, Spirituality, Metaphysics Talk. I am your host of Metaphysical Sciences TV, Mike Ray. Have a good morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever time it is, wherever you are. See you next time, everybody. Thank you.